Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. Today I'm going to do a two-part series in response to Donald Trump's debacle of a press conference. That press conference was a disaster. And, you know, the first part of this video is just going to focus on the issue of anti-Semitism and racism and Trump's approach to the black community. I'll start off by dealing with this issue of anti-Semitism. So a Jewish reporter asked Trump about his administration and this issue of anti-Semitism. So in response, Donald Trump talked about how Benjamin Netanyahu praised Donald Trump for his commitment to the state of Israel. And he basically used that to say that he was not anti-Semitic and that his administration is not anti-Semitic. But I think that that begs the question. I don't think that it really addresses the concerns that people have. And the reason why I say that is because, as many people know, Trump appointed someone from the alt-right movement to be his chief political strategist. And he also put this person on his national security team. And the person that I'm referring to is Stephen Bannon. Stephen Bannon was with the Breitbart News, a racist, anti-Semitic publication. And also, you know, Stephen Bannon is a part of the alt-right movement, as I said. Now, this alt-right movement is nothing but a euphemism for white supremacy, neo-Nazism. And it's worth noting that after Donald Trump won the election, the alt-right movement held a conference. And during that conference, in order to celebrate Trump's victory, these people actually did the Nazi salute. Many of them in the audience did the Nazi salute. So there are legitimate questions about anti-Semitism and the Trump administration. And I think that those questions were not adequately answered. And I think that the reporter was denied the opportunity to fully question Trump about this issue, because Trump repeatedly told this reporter to sit down and to be quiet. And I think that that's a serious issue that needs to be addressed. This alt-right movement is racist and anti-Semitic, and Trump deliberately campaigned to appeal to those people. And that's something that needs to be addressed. It is no coincidence that David Duke endorsed Donald Trump. It is no coincidence that the KKK endorsed Donald Trump. It is no coincidence that the racists praised Donald Trump's selection of Jeff Sessions as the Attorney General. So that's one issue. During this press conference, someone asked Donald Trump about the racist signs that people use at his rallies. And instead of addressing that and condemning that, Donald Trump essentially shifted the blame and deflected. He basically accused his opponents of putting up those signs, of being responsible for those signs being present during these rallies. And I just think that that was a classic example of deflection. It was a classic example of him protecting his base and not going against his base. And it reminds me of how people demanded that Barack Obama denounce Farrakhan. And Barack Obama bowed down and did what these people wanted him to do. He threw Farrakhan under the bus, and he threw his own pastor under the bus. But here you have Donald Trump, you know, basically standing by these racists. And I don't think that people have really adequately addressed this issue. And he should be called out for it. The people at those rallies are not plants. You know, most of them are his supporters. Most of them are his base. These are the people that support him. And he needs to own it. He needs to address it. And he won't, because he is one of them. He is a racist just like his supporters. And that brings me to my last point in this video, and that's about the way he dealt with an African-American reporter, April Ryan. This sister asked Donald Trump about what kind of policies is he going to implement to improve the black community, because Donald Trump during the campaign talked about black people being in such a horrible condition, and talked about how black people have nothing to lose, and he talked about how there's crime and there's need for law and order, and you know, he has this plan to address the problems plaguing the black community. So she asked him about this plan. Instead of providing specifics and details about a plan to address the problem of unemployment and crime in the black community, this man just spoke in generalities. And this man also made some stereotypical and exaggerated statements about the black community, talking about how communities are so bad that people are afraid to leave their apartments, that they lock themselves in. And communities are in need of addressing the problems of crime, but I think that this man exaggerated the situation, and even worse, he provided no solutions. And I think that it is amazing that you have African Americans who actually support this clown. And then the other thing that came up was this. The sister asked him if he planned to meet with the Congressional Black Caucus. And this man, and before I go into his response, I'll just say this. This man has met with a whole bunch of mediocre Negroes, to borrow the phrase from Mark Lamont Hill, mediocre Negroes and dumbass pastors who are nothing but butlers and maids to white supremacy. He's met with these stupid pastors, these shoe-shining, buck-dancing pastors, and these other house Negroes that have zero influence in the black community, have zero followers and zero power. But he meets with these people because he wants to pick and select who will be the black leaders, instead of actually addressing black leaders, real black leaders, like elected officials. You know, those are leaders. You know, they represent communities. They have been elected by the community. If he really wants to address the problems in the black community, he needs to meet with the Congressional Black Caucus. He needs to meet with civil rights organizations that actually have members and actually have a political agenda. But instead, again, he meets with these mediocre Negroes, and he surrounds himself with mammies like Diamond and Silk, instead of, you know, meeting with real people of substance to address these problems in our community. So when the sister asked him this question, this man asked her to set up the meeting. He basically asked her if she knew the Congressional Black Caucus members, and asked her if she could set up the meeting. And I think that that's condescending on two levels. First of all, it assumes that because she's black, she knows these congressional people. It lumps black people into one group instead of viewing black people as individuals. I mean, I think that that's absurd on its face. And then it's condescending for him to treat this respected reporter as if she is the help, as if she is one of his staff people. She does not work for you. She is a respected reporter. If you want to set up a meeting with the Congressional Black Caucus, you should have your staff people do that. It is out of place and out of order for you to ask this black reporter to set that meeting up. So, you know, I just think that this is ridiculous. You know, I think that, you know, his approach to these issues of racism and anti-Semitism tells you a lot about what kind of man he is. And in part two, I'm going to go into other details about his press conference, which was an actual and literal disaster. So tell me what you think. Please rate, comment, subscribe, and donate. Peace.